She pretended not to care, yet the alien princess whispered behind me, "Don't go." Ilior Kane had learned long ago how to stand without being seen. On the Aurelian diplomatic station, humans were small, soft, and easily overlooked. The corridors were tall and curved for alien bodies, the lights tuned to spectra human eyes could barely enjoy. Ilior walked them every day with careful steps, hands behind his back, posture calm. He had been trained to look harmless. That part was easy. The harder part was knowing that most beings here believed he truly was. He was a human envoy, assigned to assist communication between Earth and the Aurelian Empire. The assignment was called an honor back home. In truth, it was a test. Humans were new to the wider galaxy, tolerated but not respected. The Aurelians ruled several systems and believed emotion weakened judgment. Humans, with their expressions and attachments, were considered unstable. Princess Salith of Aurelia embodied that belief perfectly. She stood at the center of the Grand Council chamber, tall and luminous, her skin shimmering like pale silver stone. Her eyes, deep violet and unblinking, moved across holographic displays as advisors spoke. She did not look at Ilior when he entered, though she knew he was there. She always knew. Ilior took his assigned place behind the advisory line, slightly to the side, exactly where protocol demanded a human stand. Not equal, not absent, simply present. He listened as trade routes were discussed, as security zones were withdrawn. His job was to observe, clarify human positions when asked, and remain silent otherwise. He did all three well. When an Aurelian general made a sharp comment about human fragility, Ilior did not react. When a noble dismissed Earth's concerns as emotional noise, Ilior kept his face neutral. He had learned that dignity did not require response. Princess Salith noticed anyway. She would never admit it, not even to herself, but she had been watching the human for weeks. Not because he was impressive in the way Aurelians valued power, but because he did not behave as expected. He did not plead. He did not posture. He did not hide fear behind false confidence. He simply endured. When a junior aide dropped a data crystal and flinched in shame, Ilior bent to help before protocol allowed it. When a station worker collapsed from exhaustion, Ilior was the one who called for medical aid, staying until help arrived. Small actions, quiet ones, dangerous ones. After the council session ended, Salith dismissed her advisors. Ilior waited, as always, for permission to leave. It never came directly. Humans were expected to know when they were no longer needed, so he turned and walked away. Later that cycle, an official message arrived at Ilior's quarters. He read it once, then again, slowly. His expression did not change. The Aurelian High Council had decided to reduce human presence on the station. Political tension with rival empires was rising. A lesser species representative was considered a liability. Ilior's assignment was terminated. Transport would depart within 12 standard hours. He sent a brief acknowledgement. No protest. No argument. Earth would understand. Earth always did. He packed his belongings with careful hands. There were not many. A data pad. A worn human scarf his sister had given him before he left Earth. A small metallic coin, smooth from years of touch. He placed each item neatly into his case. As he sealed it, he felt something unfamiliar press against his chest. Not anger, not sadness exactly, something quieter. Disappointment, not for himself, for what could have been. On the way to the departure hangar, Ilior passed through a service corridor and heard raised voices. An Aurelian technician argued with a supervisor, panic sharp in his tone. A power relay had been misaligned. If not corrected, a section of the habitat ring would lose life support during the night cycle. Protocol required a full report, authorization, and delay. Ilior did not wait. He stepped forward, asking simple questions in calm basic. He listened. He rerouted manual controls with the technician, following logic rather than procedure. The fix took minutes. The supervisor stared at him in silence. "Report it as you see fit," Ilior said quietly, already stepping away. By the time the hangar doors opened, rumors were spreading. Princess Salith stood on an upper observation platform overlooking the hangar, hidden behind transparent shielding. She had been informed of the humans' departure moments earlier. The decision had been made without her direct input, justified as efficient, logical, correct. So why did it feel wrong? She watched Elior walk alone across the vast floor, his figure small against the towering ships. No escort, no ceremony, just quiet acceptance. This, she told herself, was how things were meant to be. He reached the base of the boarding ramp and paused. Not because he expected anyone to stop him, but because something compelled him to look back one last time. Perhaps it was habit, perhaps hope. He saw nothing, just steel, light, and distance. Above him, behind the shielding, Salith's hands clenched. She had been trained since emergence to suppress emotional impulse. Feelings were chemical noise, distractions from purpose. Yet her mind replayed images she could not dismiss. The human kneeling beside a fallen worker. The human standing silent while insulted. The human fixing a problem no one else would touch because protocol forbade initiative. Strength, she realized with discomfort, did not always announce itself. Elior stepped onto the ramp. The sound echoed through the hangar, final and hollow. Something inside Salith fractured. Before she could think, before logic could catch her, she turned and left the observation platform, moving faster than was proper for a princess. Guards straightened in surprise as she passed. No one dared stop her. She reached the edge of the hangar, hidden in shadow near a support column. The human ship's hatch was beginning to close. Elior felt it then, not a sound at first, a presence. He turned slightly, confused. "Don't go." Princess Salith stood half-hidden in the shadow, her expression carefully blank, as if she had said nothing at all. Her eyes, however, betrayed her. They were wide, conflicted, alive with something forbidden. For a moment, time held still. Then her face hardened. She straightened, turned away, and disappeared from view as though the whisper had never existed. The hatch closed. Elior stood there long after the engines powered up, the words echoing in his mind. He did not know what they meant. He did not know if they had been real. But for the first time since leaving Earth, he smiled. Not because he was staying, but because somewhere in the cold, ordered heart of the galaxy, a single voice had broken the silence. And that, he knew, changed everything. The human transport ship did not leave the station that cycle. A technical delay was announced, brief and vague. Power synchronization issues, the message said. Nothing unusual, nothing important. Elior Kane sat alone in the small passenger bay, hands resting on his knees, staring at the closed hatch. He told himself the delay meant nothing. Delays happened all the time on alien stations. Still, his thoughts returned again and again to the whisper, "Don't go." He stood and paced the narrow space, then stopped and forced himself to breathe slowly. Humans survived by adapting, not by hoping. If he was meant to leave, he would leave. If not, he would respond when called. Elsewhere in the station, Princess Salith stood alone in her private chamber, staring at her reflection in a polished crystal wall. Aurelian faces did not show emotion easily, but she could see it now, faint and troubling. A tension around the eyes, a tightness in the jaw. She had broken protocol. Worse, she had broken control. The whisper had escaped her before thought could stop it, driven by something raw and unfamiliar. Not logic, not duty, fear perhaps, or regret. She closed her eyes and steadied herself. The Aurelian Empire was built on order, on restraint. A princess did not chase departing envoys. A ruler did not hesitate because of one insignificant human. And yet, her advisors' voices echoed in her memory. Reports of the human's actions spread quietly through the lower levels of the station. He had solved problems without orders. He had protected lives without demand for recognition. He had acted where others waited. Such behavior unsettled Aurelians because it did not fit into hierarchy. Salith opened a secure channel to her chief intelligence officer. Her voice was calm again, smooth as crystal. "Status of the human envoy's departure," she asked. The officer hesitated, a rare thing. "Delayed, Your Radiance. A minor power issue. Estimated resolution within the cycle." Others whispered that human presence invited weakness. Rival empires were watching. Any sign of internal uncertainty could be exploited. When Salith entered the chamber, silence followed. She took her place without comment. "The human envoy remains aboard," a senior noble said sharply. "This contradicts council decision." Temporary. I will not dismiss a factor that improves survival simply because it is unfamiliar. A medical officer asked how humans coordinated emergency triage so quickly during disasters. Ilior helped where he could. He did not give orders, he listened. He shared simple ideas. He worked beside them. Word spread, not of his authority but of his presence. When a small fire broke out in a cargo section due to faulty insulation, it was Ilior who organized a mixed-species response before station security arrived. Aurelian guards watched in confusion as humans and aliens worked side by side, guided by calm human voices. The fire was contained. No lives were lost. Princess Salith observed the aftermath through security feeds, her expression unreadable. She noted how the humans deferred to alien specialists when needed, how they adapted to different physical limits without complaint. They did not seek dominance. They sought solution. That realization disturbed her more than open rebellion ever could. Late in the cycle, Salith summoned Ilior to a private audience. The message reached him through official channels, formal and brief. He paused before responding, then accepted. When he entered the chamber, guards sealed the doors behind him. The room was large, quiet, filled with soft light. Salith stood near a wide viewport overlooking the stars. "You requested my presence, your radiance," Ilior said, bowing slightly. "Yes," she replied. She did not turn at first. "Your departure was delayed. Guests do not demand a stay. Only truth." That concept challenges Aurelian doctrine. Under whose authority? The stars beyond seemed less distant than before. She had not planned to care. But the galaxy, she was beginning to understand, did not follow plans. And neither, it seemed, did humans. The warning came without ceremony. A deep vibration rolled through the Aurelian station, subtle at first, then strong enough to make the lights flicker. Ilior Kane felt it through the floor before any alarm sounded. He stopped mid-step, eyes narrowing, body already adjusting. Experience had taught him that systems rarely failed loudly at the start. Moments later, the station alarms began to speak in calm, artificial tones. Structural instability, power fluctuation, unknown source. Ilior did not wait for instructions. He moved toward the nearest operations hub, signaling nearby humans and station workers as he went. Aurelians tended to pause when alarms sounded, waiting for command clearance. Humans reacted differently. They gathered, assessed, and acted. In the central command wing, Princess Salith was already present, surrounded by officers and advisors. Holographic displays showed cascading failures across several sections of the station. A maintenance ring was losing power. Life support reserves were dropping faster than projected. "Cause?" Salith asked, voice steady. "Undetermined," an officer replied. "Possibly sabotage, possibly system decay. Full analysis before action. Isolation will trigger chain failures. Form mixed response teams," she continued. "Humans and Aurelians together. Override delay protocols where necessary." Humans handled manual rerouting and physical access points. Aurelians managed system control and structural stability. Communication flowed through simple language, gestures, and shared urgency. In a damaged habitat section, pressure doors jammed halfway closed. Civilians were trapped inside as atmosphere leaked slowly into space. An Aurelian officer hesitated, reviewing clearance procedures. Ilior did not. He grabbed a cutting tool, coordinated with a human engineer, and forced the door open manually. The effort strained human muscles beyond comfort, but they held long enough for evac teams to pull civilians through. One Aurelian child clung to Ilior's arm, eyes wide with fear. He guided the child to safety, speaking softly, steady and calm. That moment was captured by a floating surveillance drone and transmitted across internal networks. Elsewhere, a power conduit exploded, sending debris across a service tunnel. A human technician was injured, pinned beneath twisted metal. Aurelian medics arrived first but hesitated, uncertain of human physiology. "Pressure here," Ilior instructed, kneeling beside the technician. "Slow breathing. You're not alone." It was undeniable. Then came the worst report. A secondary core stabilizer had failed in the lower ring. If it collapsed, half the station would lose power and gravity. "Estimated time?" Salith asked. 15 minutes, an officer replied. "Access requires manual recalibration from within the stabilizer chamber." The chamber was saturated with radiation spikes and unstable energy. Aurelian physiology could not withstand prolonged exposure. Their protective gear was limited. Humans, however, could endure short exposure with proper shielding. All eyes turned toward Ilior. He understood immediately. "I'll go," he said. Salith's heart tightened. "No," she said sharply. "That is not an order I will give. Humans are good at sharing risk." Inside the chamber, heat and vibration pressed against the humans like a living force. Warning alarms screamed. Time bled away. Ilior coordinated the recalibration, his voice steady despite the strain. One by one, systems responded. Power stabilized. Gravity returned. When the final sequence locked in place, Ilior's knees buckled. A teammate caught him before he fell. They emerged minutes later, exhausted but alive. Cheers echoed through parts of the station, spontaneous and uncontrolled. Aurelians did not cheer. They stood in stunned silence, watching humans lean on one another, smiling through pain. Princess Salith felt something break free inside her chest. Later, in the quiet aftermath, she summoned the council. "The station stands because humans acted," she said. "Not because they were superior, but because they were willing." As Ilior rested in a medical bay, Salith visited him without escort. He stirred as she entered. "You should not have come," he said weakly. "I should have come sooner," she replied. He smiled faintly. "You cared." And it would never return to what it was before. The Aurelian station entered a period of quiet that felt unfamiliar. Systems were stable. Damage reports were complete. Life signs across the habitat rings showed no further decline. By every official measure, the crisis was over, yet nothing felt the same. Ilior Kane stood near a wide viewport, watching distant stars drift past the station's slow rotation. His body still ached from radiation exposure and exhaustion, but the medical staff had cleared him for limited movement. Humans healed slower than some species, faster than others. What mattered was that he was alive. So was everyone else. Behind him, the station hummed with activity, but it was different now. Humans and Aurelians moved together without hesitation. Orders were still given, but conversations happened too. Questions were asked. Answers were shared. The galaxy had noticed. Incoming transmissions flooded Aurelian channels. Neighboring empires requested explanations. Observers demanded reports. Footage of the crisis response had spread faster than the council could suppress it. Images of humans carrying Aurelian civilians. Humans and aliens working shoulder to shoulder. A human leading a stabilizer repair that saved a station. Narratives were forming, and Aurelia no longer controlled them. Princess Salith stood before the High Council, alone. By tradition, advisors surrounded the throne. Today, she had ordered the chamber cleared. This was her decision to make, and she would not hide behind consensus. A massive holographic display floated before her, showing interstellar reaction maps. Trade partners hesitated. Rivals whispered. Some saw weakness. Others saw opportunity. "The human envoy must be removed," one senior noble said over secure channel. "Immediately, he has become a symbol." "You risk civil fracture," the first noble warned. "You risk your claim." In the hangar bay, Ilior was summoned again. This time the message was different, not formal, not cold. "Attend the central forum," it said, "as yourself." When Ilior entered, quiet spread in ripples. He felt it then, Not hostility, not fear, but attention. Princess Salith stood at the center platform. When she saw him, something subtle changed in her posture. She acknowledged him not as an asset but as a presence. The broadcast began. "People of Aurelia," Salith said, her voice carrying across the chamber and beyond, "and those who watch from other stars. You have seen what happened here." "I was taught the same," she said. "I believed it. And yet, when faced with disaster, they move." "I recognize humanity," she said clearly, "as equal partners, not subordinates, not tools, equals." Ilior Kane acted without command, without promise of reward, and without expectation of recognition. He acted because it was right. Others argued loudly, yet many stood frozen, processing something they had never been allowed to consider: choice. Later, in a quiet garden chamber filled with soft light and living crystal, Salith met Ilior alone. "You changed the empire," he said softly. "No," she replied. "You revealed it. But I will not lose direction. Then I stay." Smaller species reached out, hopeful. Powerful empires reconsidered assumptions they had held for millennia. Humans did not conquer, they connected. Weeks later, Ilior stood beside Salith on a balcony overlooking the stars. Ships came and went, human, Aurelian, and many others. "Do you regret whispering?" he asked quietly. She considered the question. "No," she said. "I regret waiting so long to speak."